also, you talked about the trip. Now, talk about his response to that question. And what was the question, and how did he respond to it?
With regards to his trip to Israel?
Yes.
Yeah, he basically indicated that he paid for that trip. No one else sent them. I knew differently because, again, we have conversations about what happens in the office. And some of them I'm privy to and some of them I wasn't. But that Israel trip is what angered and offended a lot of the board members. Most of them stood silent on it, but we used to have meetings where they were less than silent. They spoke up and said, they were like, I can't believe this guy's doing this. This is wrong. He shouldn't be doing this. But at the end of the day, once they have to write an affidavit or go before him in a meeting where he gets to look at them, then that's when everything changes and they stay quiet. So those trips we used to talk about them, and he even went to a Christmas party that Koba threw, and he was bragging on how he's been to Israel not once but twice. God has given him this blessing to go to Israel twice. Who here has been to Israel? Who? I have, twice. And he was, a little tipsy, but he referred to that Israel trip quite fondly. And that's when people started talking. I said, yeah, they sent him to Israel, and he gave $5 million to that company from our money.
So it was sort of like common knowledge amongst the people that was in the know that this had happened.
Norman used to do things without telling the board. We found out he gave a this is unrelated. He gave a $250,000 donation to John Liu to run for mayor of City of New York. Remember John Liu?
Yeah.
He really didn't have a chance in that, did he? Yeah, we didn't think so either. But he gave him $250,000 of our money. The board didn't know about it. We were driving to work one day and heard it on the radio, and guess who confronted him about it in the meeting? And again, I don't have to tell you guys about that. That's within my rights to do. I'm the president. You signed the budget. That gives me the authority to do X, Y, and Z. He was very, very cocky about that.
So if he transferred that $250,000, or he sent that $250,000 to Lou, Mikey Maiello had to co-sign that, right?
Yes, he had to co-sign it.
But he wasn't the one to bring it up at the meeting. It was you.
No, they were scared of Norman. They indicated in a federal document when they called these board members in, they indicated, and I have a copy of it, they were scared of Norman. They did not want Norman to send them back, to remove them and send them back to jail, basically to do what he did to me. When he did what he did to me, he solidified the fact that that board would remain silent forever and not confront them, because he had the power to do that. Or he really didn't have the power to do it. But when you violate this and no one cares, no one says anything about it, and you're allowed to do it, then you can pretty much do whatever you want, can't you? And that's what happened with Norman. Subsequently, John Liu was the comptroller for the city of New York. He was the person that was responsible to audit the COBA and other municipal unions in the city. And it's ironic that that particular year that those transactions were made, that audit didn't happen. It's odd the way things go, and you find these things out later on, and the pieces all come together. So, there was a lot of stuff going on.
In Norman's affidavit, he said that he had approval of the people that he needed to have approval for to transfer the $5 million, but he was referring to the $5 million from the annuity fund.
Yes.
While you were referring to the $5 million from the rainy day fund.
Yes.
Then he also says in the affidavit that he paid for the trip. And the federal government produced records that showed that Norman didn't pay for the trip. Now, also, Mikey Maiello, the treasurer, also submitted an affidavit to your lawsuit, which he was, in his affidavit, he was indicating that he was in agreement with Norman's $5 million transaction. And then he came to court and said that he lied on that affidavit. No. How do you?
I have an idea why that happened.
Okay.
So, in the beginning, Norman removed me, and it was just me. So it was easy to say whatever you wanted, say things that will help Norman out and make me look like I'm lying. But it's a very different thing when there's a federal investigation, a criminal investigation, into Norman Seabrook and anybody that had anything to do with the loss of that $5 million. Because originally everybody was suspect. Everybody was being investigated. They called everybody down and spoke to them. So it doesn't surprise me that the affidavits in my puny lawsuit against the Cobra for illegally removing me, they said whatever he wanted them to say. And later on, when the stakes are higher and you could get jail time for what you say, at that point you have to tell the truth. And as you saw in the trial, the truth was very different than what they said on those affidavits originally. Elias, Amelia, Maiello, and Norman Seabrook. I mean, the judge chastised Maiello, from what I understand, for committing perjury.
Yeah.
And Amelia and Elias were not that far off. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was signing. I didn't read it. I mean, does that sound like someone who has your best interest at heart and invests that large amount of money and doesn't even bother to look or read anything or know? Elias was the former treasurer, so he's well aware. He was the lead on the committee, the board of trustees that was formed for these, and subsequently now he's the president of the union. So he has the most knowledge of anybody with regards to that. And let me just say this. This does not call for address or give authority to form a subdivision of the executive board, which is what the board of trustees is. The entire executive board is supposed to vote on all financial decisions. The entire executive board. Norman took a subdivision of that executive board and made it so. I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you. You guys do what I ask whenever I ask it. So you're going to be the board of trustees. And we're going to sit down and meet. That's another violation of the bylaws. It just keeps going on and on and on. Like, they really didn't go by this. They went by whatever that man said. And he scared the bejesus out of them. I worked with them for 5 years. I helped every single one of them. I've been in each one of their jails. I've done things for them. We've broken bread together. We know each other's families. And one day, Norman said, "Val's out. Nobody speak to him." Do you know that from that day forward, no one spoke to me? No one returned my calls?
Wow.
The lawyers that represented me didn't call me back. Nothing. It's like if I never existed. It was crazy, the power that man had.
All right. If the officers wanted to change the way things are, wanted to run for the executive board, we know right now it's almost impossible for an officer to run for the executive board.
It is impossible.
Because the system is rigged to allow the people that are there to stay there.
Yeah.
Tell us what went wrong. Tell us how we can make it right. And I will provide the link to those as well, and thank you for your support.